Welcome to HB Tuner's Ford Gen 1 Coyote Training Part 29. In this training module, we're going to take a look at our spark timing basics. This is going to be breaking down how spark timing works within the internal combustion engine, and then how it relates to the spark timing that we're commanding in our Ford PCM programming. Now, we're going to have other videos on the topic of spark timing. This is just going to get you introduced to the idea of spark timing if you're new to doing any kind of tuning. Without further wait, let's jump in so we can check this out.
Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at the basics of spark timing in an internal combustion engine. This video is going to give you the fundamentals for moving into the next few training tutorials, talking about spark timing tuning specific to our Ford PCMs. We have to have this as a fundamental or a background to understand spark timing and doing any calibrating and tuning and programming. Now, if you're a seasoned tuner, this video is probably not going to be a whole lot of use to you. Understand the idea of spark timing. If you're new to tuning, this video is going to be essential for moving forward in, again, understanding spark timing and then going into the next few videos, learning how to actually program, because the values in the table can seem very arbitrary. They are very specific, and we want to understand what those values represent and understand what we're changing when we're actually altering the values in our spark timing programming. First thing we're going to do here is jump in and locate where we can find the spark timing tables in our actual calibration file. I have a 2013 Mustang GT file open. We can find that's up at the top here. I haven't touched any of the spark timing table values, so these are all stock. Let's go in and take a look at those real quick. We're going to jump into Engine. And if we go here from our General tab, we're going to move over here to Spark. Under Spark, we have our Advanced tab, a Retard tab, a Dwell, and a Knock sensor. We're only going to be focusing in this area right here under Advanced tab, talking about our spark timing in this tutorial. Now, the next tutorial, we're going to break down specifically how all these tables interrelate and how the Ford programming logic works within the spark timing and the functionality, so how it derives at an actual value for spark timing to fire off the spark plug. That is going to be, again, the next tutorial, so we're just going to keep things as simple as possible in this tutorial so that we can focus on what we need to talk about and make sure that everything is accounted for the basics and fundamentals. So, first thing we're going to do here is just jump in and take a look at a spark timing table. We have our two tables here. We have a borderline table and a maximum brake torque. We're going to focus just taking a look at the borderline table. I'm not going to get into what this table represents in this tutorial. Again, we're going to cover that in the next tutorial so it makes sense as to how these two fit together. Let's first jump into the borderline mapped point 0. Let's click on this. Now in this table here, we're going to find that it's a three-dimensional table. We have our load axes based on engine load and based on engine speed. The values in the actual table in here are going to be the spark timing values that we want to go and command and to run on the engine so that we can have proper combustion. So these values, again, look arbitrary, but they are very specific, and they're done in a specific manner to avoid knock or pre-ignition and make good engine power and torque. But how do these values actually get us to the point where we're firing off the spark plug? Let's break this down. Let's jump kind of a step backwards and talk about the Otto cycle, because you may not be familiar with the Otto cycle. I want to break this down so it's very clear how the Otto cycle works in terms of talking about the degrees of rotation of the engine and then how that fits into what we're talking about in our values here in the table. So we'll find in the Otto cycle, we actually have a 720 degree of engine rotation to complete one Otto cycle. So we'll have 4 different strokes of the Otto cycle. We have our intake stroke, we have our compression stroke, we have our power stroke, and we have our exhaust stroke. So we have the 4 strokes that make up the Otto cycle, and has to go through all 4 strokes in order to complete that process. Now, we're going to be starting off at 0 degrees of engine rotation when the engine is starting into the intake stroke. That's where the intake valve is going to open. It's going to allow air and fuel into the engine. The piston is going to draw its way downwards towards bottom dead center, or the bottommost travel of that piston movement. And there, we're going to call that 180 degrees of rotation of the crankshaft. Now, we're going to find that the piston's going to change direction. It's going to start to travel upwards on what's known as the compression stroke. That's where all the valves are shut, and we're compressing the fuel and air mixture. In that situation, the piston's traveling from that 180 degree marker, traveling upwards towards 360 degree marker, where it returns the top dead center. At that 360 degree, that's going to be the point where we're between the compression stroke and the power stroke. That's where we initiate the spark, somewhere in that range. And we'll find the piston's going to then change direction again. It's going to travel from that 360 degree marker in our crankshaft rotation, traveling downwards again to bottom dead center. At that point, the crankshaft at the bottom dead center mark on our power stroke, it'll be at 500.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.